good afternoon, everyone. My name is Stephen Beacham, producer of the Byte Extra Crunchy podcast with your host, Mr. Brian Tong.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. You know how we do it. It's Beach and Tong, Byte Extra Crunchy, Extra Munchy, our complimentary piece to our video podcast that comes out weekly. This is where we dive into it. News stories always surface, so we kind of keep you up to date, and we can really expand about these topics. This is episode 107. This show, again, is always about you guys and gals, so all you have to do to be a part of this is just call us, leave a voicemail, 1-800-616-2638. That is how you leave us your name, where you're from, and your comments, your opinions, your questions. We will dive into them. We got a whole bunch, and honestly, I think that because we're really, at least the time that we're recording this, we're about 12 hours away from actual pre-order night. It's going to get a little crazy. It's going to get cray-cray. So the way that we wanted to draw people in is talk about some of the best ways to pre-order the iPhone 10, and then we have tons of stories, like legitimate stories. So I think just so I deliver on the promise that we titled the show. Look, I know a lot of you are like, what is the best way to pre-order? And there's a few strategies that I shouldn't be saying because it's just going to make it harder for me, but I don't care because these phones are going to be already hard enough to get. I've got nothing but love for Apple Byte Nation. The first thing you need to do when you want to pre-order, sure, you can have a web browser on the website open, but the place that typically switches over first to get access to the pre-orders, and people are like, don't tell them B, is the actual app. The actual Apple Store app on your iPhone, on your iPad. You want to have those open because that's typically the switch that flips over first to get access to the pre-order. Someone in the Periscope's like, only losers pre-order through their web browser. But here's the other thing. Not only should you do that, Apple's site and Apple's apps are going to get hammered. You can, and people call to ask about this, you will still be able to directly order the iPhone through the actual carrier websites. Now, in the past, I have found out of all the iPhones that I have pre-ordered on pre-order night, only one time did the carrier website actually outperform Apple's app or Apple's website itself. But I did get through one. So you can, whether it's T-Mobile, AT&T, Verizon, you can go to their sites directly. That's another great way to do it. But also, if you own multiple devices, you got to load up every device, get all your account, log into your accounts. Don't freaking pull up the site and wait to log into your account before you do it. You're just going to lose. You're going to lose. And this actual phone is going to be hard to get. Now, Beach, I'm going to jump one story just because We'll get back to actually the news. But we talk about launch day in our rundown. And Apple did have an official statement saying that the iPhone 10 will be available for walk-in customers at stores, both Apple stores and carrier stores, on launch day.
Wow.
We don't know how many though, but you will be able to.
PR, man. They want those lines out in front of their stores.
I'm curious. Look, San Francisco's Union Square store is one of the big flagship, beautiful stores. I don't know how many they'll actually have. I can't imagine that they're going to have 1,000 units to sell. I'm really curious what's going to happen. Maybe they allocate most of their inventory to the physical stores. We'll find out how this all shakes out. My hunch is that even if I get in the system, I'm going to guess maybe I'm going to pray to the Apple gods. Not that I believe in the Apple gods, but I think that something tells me in my gut that I'm going to get through in the online system, but I won't get the phone on launch day. It'll be like launch week. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally.
Like all indications, a report by the Nikkei Asian Review says the actual amount of iPhones that Apple is expected to produce by the end of 2017 has been cut in half because of inventory production delays. We'll talk about those issues specifically from a recent Bloomberg report. 20 million units, where normally they were expecting 40 million units by the end of this year. That's a big deal when you talk about spreading that inventory globally. That's going to be hard to get. Like, I keep on saying it. You guys are going to feel my pain. Jordans, Yeezys, classic SNESs, Super NES Classic. All you people that were crying, you're going to cry. I think you're going to cry a little harder come tonight. That's how I feel.
I cried over the NES Classic, man. I feel it.
I'm not even trying to be a hype beast. So So key elements: use the app, use Apple's website, and use the carrier. Hit them with that triple threat and load it on multiple devices with multiple browsers. If you've ever tried to get Comic-Con tickets, yeah, you'll know how thirsty we all get. This is better than Comic-Con because that's a lottery. This isn't a lottery. At least you have a chance to get one. So
get your kids involved. Get devices in their hands.
No, don't give away my secrets. Janaea, Kalissa, Jaren, Tyler, Jake, all my nieces and nephews, I expect you to be on your devices with account credentials. This is not even an option.
You should have a Google Doc prepared for all your nieces and nephews. Have all the information in one place.
It's gonna be. I don't know. I mean, maybe it's not, but I feel like it's gonna be rough. I think we know how much the internet bitches about stuff. I think it's gonna be really bad tomorrow.
Yeah, everyone's complaining about their iPhone 8s right now, so there's gonna be a huge wave when the 10 comes out.
My buddy Gil Cabrera, I've heard those Comic-Con tickets are hard to get, BT. Funny. So yes, do that. That's my tip of the day. Best of luck to you. May the odds be ever in your favor. Gotta throw up the 3 for Rue. That's you see Hunger Games, Beach?
I actually haven't. No, I haven't seen that movie.
Oh, okay, that joke meant nothing to you.
I did not.
Well, you're like whatever, Brian. Just talk to the people. All right, so let's move along and talk about this really interesting and in-depth story that was broken that just dropped yesterday after we shot our show, the actual video show from Bloomberg. And the title is that Inside Apple's Struggle to Get the iPhone 10 to Market on Time. Now, we know that there's been a variety of production issues. We know that, specifically to the sensors. But this is the most detailed account that we have ever heard detailing, what had happened to Bloomberg, what had happened behind the scenes in Apple's factory. So what I kind of wanted to do is paint this picture. You got to follow along with me and go through some of these key elements that this amazing story really dug deep in. Should I read Apple's comment to the response to the story first before we get into this, Beach? What do you think?
Of course, please.
Okay. Apple's statement in response to this story before we get into the nitty-gritty, because this is always a he said, she said type of situation. In fact, this is kind of actually literally he said, she said. Apple spokeswoman Trudy Miller said that Bloomberg's claim that it reduced the accuracy spec for Face ID is completely false, and we expect Face ID to be the new gold standard for facial authentication. The quality and accuracy of Face ID haven't changed. It continues to be 1 in a million probability of a random person unlocking your iPhone with Face ID. And again, I kind of actually forgot to say, the Bloomberg report claims that Apple basically dialed down and told suppliers that they didn't need to make the sensors for the true depth camera as accurate in order for them to produce more components that would be able to then be used in phones. That is the report and the claim by Bloomberg. Apple says, no way, Jose. This is not, because they're trying to be no, this is just as good as we advertised. Bloomberg is saying otherwise. So let me walk through the steps of what Bloomberg is talking about with the iPhone 10 specifically and kind of the saga behind it. Now, about a month ago, this is kind of phase one. About a month ago, Foxconn's technology group pulled as many as 200 workers off the iPhone 10 production line. Wow. Apple, we know that they were having problems getting sufficient components for this phone. So that resulted in them actually needing fewer people to put it together. The main culprit was the 3D sensor that recognizes face and unlocks the handset. Foxconn declined to comment more specifically. More information. Remember, when you look at this iPhone 10 True Depth camera, this is basically like a Microsoft Kinect inside a phone. Now, when you talk about supplies for that, this is kind of a little cool data point. Remember, the Kinect was like the size of, I don't know, what would you say?
The Kinect's pretty small. It's like a
mini speaker, like a Bluetooth mini speaker, right? Yeah. It's the size of a Bluetooth mini speaker. The Kinect sold 24 million units over 2 years. Okay, so production-wise, that's not nearly as challenging. Apple, which is miniaturizing this to my fingernail,
I know, right,
sells more than 200 million phones in a year.
Wow.
They're going to have problems.
Yeah.
This is not easy. Here's the other element that was part of this, reduced amount of iPhones. Not enough time. Despite demanding the near impossible, normally Apple gives suppliers a typical 2-year lead time. But because of this tighter schedule, the complexity of making this 3D true depth sensor, that left a lot of their suppliers on a short time to prepare their factories, and also explains partially why the iPhone 10 is getting released like a full 6 weeks later than the iPhone 8. Now, yeah, it's an aggressive design. This is part of it. But here's even more, right? This true depth 3D sensor that is used for facial scanning. And again, what the crazy thing about this is, we don't know if this is going to be really how fast this is going to perform. And so Apple's going through a lot of this trouble to bring this next generation tech that we foresee to be faster and better in the future. But here we go, right? This 3D sensor has 3 key elements: a flood illuminator that kind of shines this light on your face, right? It beams an infrared light on your face that we can't see. The camera uses that to establish there's a face. The second part of this is this dot projector that they talked about that flashes 30,000 dots on your face to kind of build your face. And then a third camera is an infrared camera that actually reads those dots to confirm that it's you. So those are 3 elements that are really at the heart of this. Now, the actual dot projector is the heart of the production problems for Apple. We know that there were reports that they were having trouble producing these multiple modules that combined to make this dot projector that were causing the shortages. The laser beam light through a lens known as wafer level optics focuses these 30,000 points of infrared light projected onto a user's face. So they had problems producing that and producing enough of them at the quality and spec that Apple wanted for the phone. Next up, another roadblock. Apple lost one of its laser suppliers early on. Oh, man. The company is called Finisar Corp. They failed to meet Apple's specs because, again, Apple gave these companies a shorter timeline because of the difficulty and the complexity. And this stuff is hard. I would never claim to know how these people, like, they're also under pressure too. This is not an easy job. People are like spending time over in Asia to make sure this happens away from their families just to get this phone right. Like, I understand all this. We have fun ripping on them, but let's be real. Like, there is perspective here. They lost one of their laser suppliers. That meant less components because they weren't able to meet the spec. In addition to that, the fragility of these components created problems for the remaining 2 kind of manufacturers, LG Innotek and Sharp Corporation, who struggled to combine the laser and the lens to make this actual dot projector. At one point, the report says 20% of the dot projectors produced by the 2 companies were actually usable. 20%.
This sounds like they're building like the Hubble telescope in your phone. I mean, and this is just like one tiny piece of the phone too. Imagine all the other parts and like, you know, just components that go into this phone that they have to perfect and it makes extremely precise. But this is an incredible story. Like lasers, we're talking about laser
freaking lasers.
Freaking lasers on their head. It's crazy.
Laser. It is crazy. So after, right, 20% yield rate of these dot projectors, that's holding up the entire process, slowing down how many units they can actually build. LG Innotek and Sharp themselves slowed down the production process in efforts to kind of prevent these dot projectors from breaking during the assembly. That was one of the issues that was happening. So finally, in order to what Bloomberg is reporting, in addition to all these amazing details, in order to boost the number of usable dot projectors and to accelerate the production, Apple relaxed some of the specifications for the Face ID module according to multiple people with knowledge of the process. And as a result, because it took less time to test these modules and they weren't so stringent, which typically they are very, very, let's be honest, it's Apple. In the past, they've been very anal retentive about this stuff. Oh, yeah. It was one of the sticking points, but it allegedly allowed them to at least bump up the yield rates. Apple, again, when I say he said, she said, Apple's saying, no, this is not true at all. They are just as accurate as possible. We'll actually never know this, right?
Yeah.
We won't have 1 million people use a phone and test it to really be like, yeah, it is 1 in a million accurate. I mean, that's a number they're throwing out anyways, just for fun. It could be a little more than a million. It could be a little less. It could be close to that. But the fun stuff about this, we have all these details. Apple will always say it's not true. We'll actually never know the truth of it.
Yeah.
We will never really know. Apple will never come out and say, we did change the spec. No one has an original component unless someone gets an original component and can show us without a shadow of a doubt that this projects more dots or is more detailed than the current one, we'll never know. And will we really care? I mean, insiders like us eat this stuff up.
I think we'll care if our Face ID is broken or doesn't work, then we're going to care. But it sounds like relax is like a code word for cutting corners, kind of, right? Like, we're not going to make it in time. This is very hard to make, so let's just cut some corners and make it faster, right?
So that's the story of the week. Yeah, exactly, right? Apple reportedly has reduced the Face ID accuracy to speed up the iPhone 10 production. I think a lot of people that want an iPhone 10, probably, actually, the more I think about it, your general consumer that does not even pay attention to any of this doesn't even care. They don't even care.
Yeah, they don't care. But people at Apple care a lot right now, and they're probably tripping out, man.
Just a reminder, the iPhone 10 pre-order starts Friday at 12:01 a.m., right? That's Friday morning. I'm sorry for my East Coast peeps. 3 a.m.
Oh, man.
If you're thirsty,
They do
you go to work.
They do it on Pacific time?
Yeah, 12 a.m. Pacific time, bro.
Cupertino time.
Yeah.
That's right.
And don't worry, you'll get my tweets at like 12:01, like, store's not open, how about you? 12:07, store's still not open, how about you? Like, everyone starts freaking out.
That'll be fun. You should live stream that.
I ain't gonna live stream. I got a life, man. Do this for work. People don't need to see that. All right. So that's kind of the latest iPhone 10 stuff in a bundle. The other story that dropped this week that was, again, from Bloomberg, this time from Bloomberg Business Week, is kind of detailing more about Apple's billion-dollar bet on Hollywood, and really saying that, not only does the Apple is trying to figure out what they're doing, it's the opposite of edgy. And what we mean by that is Apple wants content that could be played in an Apple store that could be seen there. And we know what are the hottest shows that people care about right now. Right now, name a few and tell me if they're edgy or if they're a little more mature, a little more rooted in. Look, I still will put Walking Dead in that group. Game of Thrones,
extremely violent.
Game of like Netflix has got Narcos, right? These are shows that you're just like, oh my god, like what network TV show right now today is garnering anywhere near the buzz that a cable network show or an HBO show is doing these days? The only one that I can think of, honestly, is This Is Us, which I do watch.
I don't even know what that show is.
It's a tearjerker, man. It's an emotional show, man.
That's a good question. I can't think of a show that's like hugely popular. That's like very. I mean, maybe like those singing contest shows.
Okay, fine. Competition shows, which those are the few shows that you need. Competition shows draw on the same type of audience, like a live sports audience. You want to be there and see it as it happens, right? Yeah. This is Apple doing programming to compete with Netflix, with Hulu, with Amazon, and cable networks. And you're telling me they want to come up with like family-friendly stuff? I mean, you can, but it's not like it's gonna blow things out. We've already seen the first two efforts with Carpool Karaoke and Planet of the Apps. Now, here's a really interesting thing to kind of talk about where Apple's mind is and how this could trickle down in the future. So this is according to Bloomberg Business Week story. Days before Apple planned to celebrate the release of its first TV show last spring, Tim Cook told his deputies the fun had to wait. Foul language and references to vaginal hygiene had to be cut from some of the episodes of Carpool Karaoke. Celebrities like Gwyneth Paltrow, Jessica Alba, Blake Shelton, and Chelsea Handler were cracking jokes while driving around LA. The delay was widely reported last April, but the reasons never were. The reasons now have surfaced that edits were made and additional episodes were shot to sanitize the show because it wasn't family friendly enough. So when Carpool Karaoke released in August, we know it didn't blow us away. Some people told me they liked it. It was not enough for me to get an Apple Music subscription. But it shows the challenges that Apple, as a tech company, They've hired 2 execs from Sony to drive their content. They are investing reportedly $1 billion. But if Apple is going to kind of control and shape, like, if Tim Cook is going to say, the show's a little risque, we don't want that. Well, what are you going to make? Like, look at, oh my gosh, why can't I remember the name of the show that we talked about with Dre and I'm
forgetting the name too.
Johnny Ives. Was it Icons? Was it
No. Let me see if I can look it up real quick.
Some people that are watching will tell us this right now. Yeah. It's like Icons or something like that. I can't remember. Anyways, just pull it up while we talk about this. But yeah, look, Apple is going to have an identity problem if they wanted, the report says they want comedies and emotional dramas with broad appeal.
The Defiant ones.
Thank you.
Great.
Ridiculous.
Yes.
If you haven't seen the Defiant ones, please watch it. I still haven't seen episode 3 at the Source Awards, which is arguably, everyone says it's the most intense story there. But yeah, Apple wants comedies and emotional dramas with broad appeal. And it's like, okay, we'll see. We've already seen what they've done. The 2 Sony core executives that they've brought in, Jamie Ehrlich and Zach Van Amberg, former heads of Sony Corporation's TV studio. We'll see. I mean, look, what are the most iconic shows of all time? The Wire, Breaking Bad, and now obviously we have Game of Thrones. Tell me, are those shows risque? Hell yeah.
Yes.
Like, they push the boundaries of what we have expected or known to see on TV.
I mean, I could see Apple getting into like children's programming. It feels like that's kind of.
Oh, great! I'm gonna watch that, Pete. I'm gonna watch that, dude.
I know, right? But I mean, they are trying to target young. I'm sure they're trying to target young audience and kids who play with iPhones and iPods or whatever. So I could see them getting into like children's programming, which would make sense.
Yeah, they could. Their main rival will be Netflix, who throw all my nieces and nephews, the young ones at least, they're all about Netflix.
Yeah.
All they do is watch all their shows on Netflix. They don't care if Apple's coming up with a new TV show that your parents have to pay $10 a month just to watch.
Yeah. True.
And look, to Gil Cabrera's point, would your parents pay for that? $10 just to watch a show for your kids where you have Netflix already there and you're already using it, and Netflix gives you so much. Like, Netflix is just crushing it.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Are you ready for? Oh wait, you don't have a Netflix yet, bro.
I don't. I'm still Amazon Prime. Amazon Prime has every cool kid show that you need.
Stranger Things, bro.
I do want to see that. I do want to see that show.
Gosh, I can't. Honestly, I can't talk to you right now.
I don't have time to watch TV, man. I barely have time.
All right. Let's get to our mid-roll break. We'll talk about some of the companies that Apple is in legal battles with, but we're going to take a little breather right now to show some love for our sponsor this week. It's Eero. You know them, EERO. The single router Wi-Fi model just doesn't work for our increasingly high bandwidth world. So what you need is a distributed system, and that's Eero. Whatever your Wi-Fi needs are, Eero has the power to seamlessly blanket your home in fast, reliable Wi-Fi. It's like a mesh network. It comes with a single router, and then you have these 2 other nodes that you can plug into the wall that extend your wireless network across your house. It has a third 5 gigahertz radio. A second generation Eero is now tri-band and twice as fast as its predecessors. And also it has a new Thread radio platform that supports future smart home devices like locks and doorbells and other sensors. Their Eero beacons, that are the things that you plug in the walls, are really small and portable, even more powerful than the original Eero. So Eero did send us, in order for us to actually test the experience, they sent us a setup. I got it rigged up at my parents' house, who normally just had like an old school airport base station in the top level. I put 2 nodes down the bottom, and it worked. It was really easy to set up. Like, I didn't have a problem with it. In fact, to me, it's kind of one of those companies where Apple is out of the Wi-Fi business because there's people like Eero that are just going to basically take their lunch. It has this Apple aesthetic. It's really nice. So I'm just telling you right now from personal experience, like, the thing actually worked. So all you got to do, guys and gals, for free overnight shipping to the US or Canada, visit Eero.com, EERO.com, select overnight as the shipping option. Enter the code AppleByte at checkout. That's APPLEBYTE, and you get free shipping. there you go, Eero.com. Thanks for showing love and keeping the lights on and keeping these dope statues behind me.
Yeah. Hey,
they don't pay me at all, actually.
I noticed going to the Eero website that every person that's on this website is barefoot. So this guy's barefoot. This woman is barefoot.
Are you into feet, bro?
This guy's barefoot. And then there's a whole family that's barefoot. So if you want like barefoot people, just go to Eero.com.
This just hit me, dude. This just hit me. This is okay. You have these cool tech companies that are doing great things. This is one of the problems why they aren't catching on. They have these like weird names, and I'm gonna give Eero. Should I give Eero a marketing TV ad right now?
Sure.
Should I do that? Okay. So you show the doing the pill. You show someone like frustrated with Wi-Fi, but this is the theme song. This is the theme song for Eero moving forward. I can be your Eero, baby. I can wipe away those tears. Oh yeah. Okay, that's what I'm saying.
I was gonna start doing some slow fades in and out of you. That was good, man.
I can be your hero, baby. I mean, come on, Enrique Iglesias. He needs work. Get him on the ad.
Eero, please connect my Wi-Fi.
Does your Wi-Fi? It stinks. Just get Enrique on that, please, right now.
Yes. All right, moving on. Let's move on.
Should we actually move on? We're like, wow. Is it Thursday today? Man, we still got Friday,
man.
I got to stay up till 12 a.m. for this Apple iPhone 10. I'm doing it. All right, two things we covered in the show. We won't get into too in depth, but Apple recently this week was sued by a company over the Animoji trademark. The company's name was eMonster. We know how Apple basically came out. If you look at the exact keynote, Phil Schiller outright says we came up with a new thing that we are calling Animoji. They outright said it like they came up with the idea. The real story behind this is that there's a company called eMonster. They created an app on the App Store, trademarked it in 2014. The app has like over 18,000 downloads. It's called Animoji. The report from the eMonster creators was that companies approached him this summer, conveniently before the iPhone 10 release, asking if they could purchase the trademark from him. He said, no, I don't want you to do that. He believed they were shell companies. Like Apple comes up with these like fake company names to pose as another company. What was the name of it? One of the shell companies that approached him was called the Emoji Law Group LLC, who attempted to purchase the Animoji. Like, is there who comes up with this?
That is so funny. That's like a super PAC kind of, They have
so after
silly names.
After he didn't sell it, he was threatened with a cancellation of the trademark. All right, but if he didn't sell it to them, now our friend Gil Cabrera, who's in the legal world, would enjoy this stuff and probably give us way more insight. He opted not to sell, but then on September 11th, just prior to the debut of the iPhone 10, Apple filed a petition with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office to cancel the Animoji trademark. They filed a petition. It is still the petition has not been. It's still basically they're still waiting on a decision on that. It has not been pushed through. It's still like in limbo. But the owner of eMonster is now suing Apple, saying, "Yeah, you try. Not only did you clearly try to buy it off me, you knew it existed. You didn't give an F about it, and you went out there and made it like it was your own." And I hope that this dude gets paid. I want this guy to get paid because that's just so cocky of Apple. Like, they have billions of dollars. They probably lowballed him. They're like, here's $500,000 for the Animoji trademark. Can we buy it from you? No. Give this man what he deserves. Now you're in trouble.
All he has to do is show some emails, show some phone calls, and then he's swimming in dough, swimming in some money. So that's pretty insane.
Gil Cabrera says he's going to get paid. I think he's definitely going to get paid. He's going to get paid more than he turned down that crappy offer that Apple. Then the thing is, Apple pretended to be a different company to buy it from him and then got mad about it.
That's so weird. And then the name of the company is like very misleading too, like we are what was it again?
The Emoji Law Group LLC.
That is so funny. They're like the lawyers of emojis. That's so weird.
Look, the iPad name was used by, if I recall right, digging back in my bank, I believe some company like Cisco or a tech company like that owned the actual iPad trademark. Apple paid them for it. They tried to swindle this dude behind the scenes without him knowing it was Apple. So he's going to get paid.
Wow. That's a crazy story, man.
In another story about the lawsuit that will never end, the Apple versus Samsung lawsuit will be dragged into its 8th year with a retrial scheduled for next May.
Wow.
Now, if you remember this whole back and forth, right, the whole claims of Apple said, hey, Samsung, you copied our design of the phone. They showed examples of how their new phone, like the S4 and other models, started to look exactly like the Apple iPhone 3GS. After all this back and forth, and we know how crazy it was, right? Apple successfully sued Samsung for infringing upon their patented design. And Apple was initially awarded nearly $1 billion in damage. But then a significant part of that was reversed in 2015 that said, okay, Samsung only owes $548 million. Later on, that amount was even lowered again. This is over the course of years, my friends. Lowered to $399 million. And now, earlier this week, Judge Lucy Koh ordered that a new trial is required to determine whether Apple's $399 million award for Samsung's infringement should stand or whether a new damages trial is required. Good Lord, this thing's still going on.
You know who the real winner is in this whole thing? The lawyers. The lawyers are winning big time right now. They're like, oh, we got 8 years of Apple and some Samsung paying us for our legal fees. We're winning. Winning.
Oh, winning. That's so good. That's so classic. Anyways, good luck with that. It's a story that I didn't want to bring up, but it's kind of getting ridiculous now. It's just getting ridiculous, man. We're going to jump over to just a couple cool things. New betas for Mac OS High Sierra, the 5th Mac OS. The 5th beta is out. Also, the 5th beta for iOS 11.1 is out. I actually, because they're kind of further along in the beta process, I actually downloaded it to my phone, the 5th beta, and the Apple Watch, specifically for watchOS 4.1. And I'm telling you, if any of you who enjoy your Apple Watch Series 3 LTE specifically, I think you're going to like it a whole lot more in this new, we've talked a little bit about it, but the new watchOS 4.1, you're going to now be able to stream Apple Music. But in addition to that, it's also going to be able to connect to Apple radio stations. So what do I mean by that? Like, while I'm on the go, if I'm working out at the gym, there's a few stations that are set up on this Apple Watch that you can listen to directly. One of them, I have to, I'm not trying to make this an advertisement or anything, but one of them is CBS Radio. But there's others like, I think PBS has a radio station on it. ESPN has a radio station on here. Bloomberg Radio. So you could just KQED. Sorry, not PBS. So there's a few like news stations on there, as well as access to the entire Apple Music if you are an Apple Music subscriber, and in addition, access to your iCloud Music library as well. I'm not a big fan of iCloud Music because of some of the ways it handles things. Like, honestly, I just say enter at your own risk with iCloud Music, but I do use it. One of the questions that we had over the phone, and I felt like we would just answer it here, is Jeff in Houston had asked about, dude, what's going on with watchOS 4? He has a Series 2 watch, and if any of you have noticed in the past, and this is a bad Apple type, this is crap, but you used to be able to actually access your entire library on your phone when it was connected through the music app. Like, how cool is that, right? Any songs that were on your phone are now, you can access them through your Apple Watch. They got rid of that specific connectivity in watchOS 4. And why is that a problem? Because you can't access your entire music library. Now, they did bring more storage, 16 gigs of storage to the new Series 3 watch, so you could load specific playlists and songs onto your Apple Watch, but that's completely different than getting access to your entire phone library on your phone. I think what Apple is trying to do here, and I don't like it, is that they're saying, hey, if you subscribe to Apple Music and our iTunes Cloud Library, iTunes Cloud Library, you'll be able to get your entire music collection that way. Yeah. But you have to pay for that.
That's two services, right? That's two services you
have to pay for that to do that. They took away basically free functionality to access your entire library collection by doing that. I love the radio aspect, but I don't like that. And I think it's a bunch of crap, honestly. So unfortunately, Jeff, and I think that's what they're trying to push you towards, which is not cool.
Yeah, the radio aspect is cool, but it's also going to count towards your data plan. So you're going to be eating up.
Unless you're on Wi-Fi, homie, Wi-Fi in the gym.
Yeah, true. But
no, I'm just saying, most likely your LTE.
Yeah, and the caller also said, oh crap, I forgot what I was going to say. What he mentioned, but he was saying that was like the only feature he really used on his Apple Watch, and now it's almost like useless to him now, which is a bummer,
Yeah, there's also other radio stations that are featured here, like. Not my personal favorite, but we've got like modern country. You've got classic electronic, rock. So there's actual like genres of music that you can listen to as well, which is kind of cool. I thought that was actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
Gospel, hip hop, R&B, all that stuff. Like all my classic hip hop. And so you do have access to all the stations. Like I'm telling you, like as a fan of the Apple Watch Series 3 LTE, because of how I use it to work out, I think it makes it a whole lot cooler. It also will connect to gym supported like elliptical machines and things like that through the gym kit support. So that's also, it's coming. It's still in beta right now, but I think it's in like its 4th beta. So it will be coming soon. Most likely we're going to see these all launched during the time that the new iPhone comes out November 3rd. I've got to imagine they're going to drop around that time. That's typically when it happens. So we'll wait and see on that. The other thing related to the Apple Watch, and honestly, I had no idea this was going on, but a recent report that came out last week, maybe about 5 days ago, is that the Apple Watch cellular version hits a snag specifically in China. What, according to reports, is basically China's state-run government turned off or demanded that they turn off the LTE connection for Apple Watches in China. Like, you can't use an Apple Watch with an independent cellular connection, even if it has that feature, because it was abruptly cut off for new subscribers without any explanation, with none whatsoever. And that's China's state-run government at work. They felt that there was a risk because they aren't able to. Their risks were related to tracking users of the device, which uses different technology than the standard mobile phones. It's using an eSIM technology that not all carriers are compatible with. That was one of their worries. But I want to give, for people that don't really understand, how lucky we are here in the US, quite honestly, look, I'm going to give you a list of websites specifically blocked in China that everyone here takes for granted. And are you ready for this, Beach? Hold on to your butts, okay?
Go for it, yeah.
Google Maps, Google Docs, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, Pornhub. I'm just kidding. It's on the list. I just saw it. Dailymotion, Vimeo, Dropbox, the SoundCloud. These are all currently blocked sites in China that you cannot get access to if you go visit.
They're all things that are like you can send messages encrypted to people mostly and like send information. And China's afraid of like an uprising, they're afraid of their people. So every time something like this comes out, they just have to lock it down. They're afraid of, a revolution happening. So it's very sad for Chinese.
So, a lot of our listeners are young listeners. Just to understand how lucky we are, though all of those sites are completely blocked in China. Now, they do have their own versions, but they're more controlled. They don't give you, they're made, there's versions of those in China specifically because the government wants oversight on the communications that are happening over there. And these are apps that we take for granted every day that are just an icon on our screen that we can click instantly and get access to so much information. You can't get any of that over in China. So that's, when someone says, "Oh, they turned off LTE on the Apple Watch," that is crap. You have to understand the nature of how the country is run and how it's a state government controlled country when it comes to communications and things like that. So, yeah, just want to let you know the Apple Watch no longer is able to use LTE in China at the moment. Kind of a bummer.
Yeah, it is a bummer.
Kind of makes me sad actually thinking about that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of people out there, whose voices can't be heard because of that. So, yeah, there you go. All right, you know what? You want us to get to our calls right now?
Let's do it. Let's move on. Thank you guys all for calling. We had a lot of good calls this week. And we narrowed it down to 5. 5 solid ones. So here,
Fab 5, baby.
Stop this music. Okay, here we go. Number 1.
Hi, Beach. This is Justin calling from Minneapolis. Hey, I asked a question a while back, and I don't need you to put my call on the air, but even if you could just answer it, through the show somehow as you guys were talking about things. But I was wondering about an iPhone 9. If next year, instead of just dropping the 8 after a while and going straight to the 10, are they going to do a 9 version? Of what the next 8 would be, essentially still doing the 10, but are they going to do that, or are they just going to cross everything over to the 10 in the long run, or even short run next year? So anyway, let me know. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Thanks for the call, man. All reports that we've seen, specifically from Ming-Chi Kuo, KGI Security, is kind of like iPhone rumor info guru. I think last week or 2 weeks ago, he said that all iPhones moving forward that will be produced in 2018 will take a cue from Apple's iPhone 10 design. And yes, we'll probably see something that will be an iPhone SE type equivalent that will stay with that line. But moving forward, no new hardware or all new hardware will be based off of the iPhone 10 design. And I think what you'll see more than anything is they're going to learn a lot from this iPhone 10. We don't know what issues that's going to have. We've seen last year's issues with the Note 7. We've seen this year's issues with the screen, alleged but not officially confirmed screen burn-in issues with the Google Pixel 2 XL phone model specifically, which I was super juiced about, but I'm kind of like tempering my expectations until we hear what Google has to say about that. But making phones is hard, and when you introduce completely new technology like this, there are probably going to be some level of issues. In the past, we've seen Apple go very unscathed, and in other years, we've seen AntennaGate. We've seen, what was the other? We've seen the ceramic 3GSs crack in the corners. The AntennaGate was with the iPhone 4. What was the other gates? I mean, there's so many. We had Bendgate with the iPhone 5. So we've seen that where when people sat on it, the phone was actually bending.
Oh, yeah.
This stuff's not easy. Do I expect a major issue to come out? I hope not for all companies. I don't want any issues to come out, because if you love technology, you want to see all boats rise with the tide. I know you like when I say that, Beach.
I do, yeah, I like that one.
It's like, it's important to lift everyone up. So I hope there's not, but if there is, we might throw a few bad apples at them.
There's definitely going to be some bad apples, I bet.
There always are. Come on.
Okay, next call.
Hey, guys. It's me, Ricky from Dallas. I just want to say that my first iPhone was the iPhone 5C. And that was actually the phone that got me hooked with Apple. Freaking hated the phone. It was plastic. It kept breaking on me. I couldn't keep the screen from not breaking, even with an OtterBox. But it was the operating system, the iOS, that I liked. It was just smooth, and it just felt very clean, and I just liked the iOS. That's what got me hooked with Apple. It wasn't the plastic crappy phone. It was just the iOS in general. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, I agree.
Totally. You know what? Look, everyone, I'm not trying to offend people when I rip on the iPhone 5C. It's just that it was just so un-Apple at the time. But to his point, and to what we always say every time we talk about phones and deciding between phones, it's an ecosystem thing now. You're either locked in, and if you really want to take a huge leap and switch ecosystems, whatever direction that is, you can, but it's going to feel weird and uncomfortable at first, and then you'll probably get used to it like anything. I just find it fascinating how I was at the Google pop-up shop in LA last weekend, and I literally heard a conversation between 3 dudes that were looking at the Pixel 2 XL, and one of them was like, "Yeah, but you won't get the blue text bubbles if you go Pixel." Like they were outright talking about, like, I was like, "Oh my gosh!" Like, the fact that they just changed the color for iMessages has literally like created this bond or this connection in people's brains that it's not the same. And like then one of the guys said, well, this girl I dated with, she didn't have an iPhone, and I switched to Android for her for a while. But then when we broke up, my next phone was an iPhone. I was like, oh, this is what people are talking about now.
That's incredible. That's
am I old? Am I millennial old now? Am I millennial old?
Man, we're like right on the edge of like generation.
I'm millennial old, bro. Like, I heard this conversation. I'm like, you literally chose your phone based on who you were dating, and then went back because of the text bubbles. Like, is this really happening? This is anecdotal, factual evidence I heard right across me. Like, oh my god, I can't deal with this stuff.
We need to interview those kids. We need to find out more. That's interesting. All right, let's get another call. We got more calls here. Here we go. Number 3.
I want to hear more people who will not let go of their phones because of the blue iMessages. My god,
there is something to say about that. I mean, you know,
I agree. I totally agree.
Okay, here we go.
Hey guys, this is Rockdale. I'm from Honolulu. I'm going to buy the new iPhone 10, and luckily my parents live on the mainland. They have Xfinity Internet TV. Earlier this year, Xfinity set up a mobile virtual network called Xfinity Mobile. Their unlimited plan is $45 a month, and they operate on Verizon towers. My question is there an advantage of going directly with a carrier like Verizon instead of going with a mobile virtual network operator such as King, Xfinity Mobile, Virgin Mobile? Also, last week in the podcast, you forgot to shout out information in Hawaii. You get a lot of your T-shirts from them. That's a bad apple.
Wow. Okay. For the record, yes, my man. I can't remember what his name was. That's hilarious. A lot of the shirts that I rock that have the high wording on it, the scribble. A lot of people ask me where I got that. It is one of my favorite companies. Information, IN4 Mation, based out in Hawaii. You know, my mom was born and raised there, so I spent a lot of time there. I got to show love because I spent all my summers there as a kid. It's when I go there, it's like I'm just living there, eating food and surfing and hanging. So, yes, correct. As for your call about using, a virtual network or not, in Hawaii, for me personally, it's just all about it's all about the signal. It's all about the signal, and every place is different. I found that AT&T, if I recall right, see now my brain is, I'm trying to switch because when I travel, I bring out a Pixel and a work phone and my personal phone. And if I recall right, I felt like Verizon was a lot better than AT&T on Hawaii, if I remember. And it's been like that a few years. Maybe I'm switching the two, but I always felt like Verizon was a lot better in Hawaii than AT&T was. And to me, it always just comes down to which carrier is better. I know you can always look that type of stuff up, but it comes down to where you live and where you are most of the time. And sometimes you got to find out the hard way which carrier works best. So I'm not against any carrier. It just comes down to how you use it. In LA, Verizon is way better than AT&T because of the topography. In Vegas, Verizon is way better than AT&T. But then in San Francisco, I think AT&T works awesome.
Oh, it doesn't work good for me in San Francisco, actually. I have a lot of gripes with AT&T in San Francisco. Maybe it's my phone. Maybe it's the way I'm holding my phone. I don't know. But he's also asking,
don't you have like an iPhone like 4 or something right now, bro?
I got a 6S. 6S. He was also asking about these like mobile networks, like Xfinity Mobile and stuff. Do you know anything about? I don't know anything about those.
Well,
do you know anything?
It's like third party networks like what's one is like a Cellular one that basically they license, and some of the cell towers from companies to use and brand their own, and they sell their own stuff. So that it's basically like you piggybacking off of a carrier's towers to build your own carrier in essence, and they pay a fee for that.
I see.
So that's why I'm saying it. That's what I was telling him. I don't know how well the Xfinity mobile provider over there is. It just comes down to how good the signal is and where you most likely use it.
Yeah, Xfinity is a trip because they are putting like all these Wi-Fi signals like all over the country, So like I'll be cruising along on the bus or something, and my phone will connect to a Wi-Fi signal that's like an Xfinity Wi-Fi router somewhere. Just around the city.
Totally safe.
It's actually kind of cool. It helps me sometimes, but it is weird. If I connect to one and I'm like far away from it and I have a slow connection, then it kind of screws me up, I have to like disconnect from it so I can get back on LTE to use my phone properly. So they're kind of hit or miss right now, for me. I
always avoid those, honestly. I just disconnect from them.
Yeah.
Hey, we've got my buddy, shoot, their name just faded away. But our buddy on Periscope says 3 minutes away from the Australia launch of the iPhone 10.
Ho!
Just letting y'all know. Aussie. Oi.
Okay, we got one more call. Let me just make sure that we didn't already play this one.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Oh, here it is.
This is Mike from Texas. Was wondering with the iPhone 10, the Animojis, they will just work from iPhone 10 to iPhone 10, or they will also work with iPhone 10 to like any iPhone or 7, 8 or anything like that. Because of that true depth sensing house in the front, will the Animojis will only work with iPhone 10, or they will work with any of them if iPhone 10 it? If we can send it up from iPhone 10 to any other device. Thank you, guys.
I was counting how many times he said iPhone 10. He said
seriously, bro.
8
like
times.
How many times?
8 times.
He said iPhone 10 8 times in that call.
Yeah, I was counting.
The funny thing about it is the actual underlying theme behind this is he really wants to make sure his Animojis work with other phones.
It's very important, man.
That's really the reason. Now, from all indications, when you make an Animoji with an iPhone 10, it sends it as a separate file to other users. So the expectation is that they will be able to see them. Obviously, they can't make their own Animojis unless they have an iPhone 10. So from what I gather, you're probably looking to buy a 10, and you want to make sure that people see your poo-poo Animoji face. That's my assumption. Good luck with that. I'm sure people are going to be thrilled about it.
iPhone 10, iPhone 10, iPhone 10. Okay, this is the last call, actually. I was mistaken before. Here we go.
Wait, was that our same guy that said bezel-less, bezel-less, bezel-less?
It could be. Bezel-less, bezel-less. Yeah, I don't know.
If that was you, call back and confirm. Were you the same caller from last week? It was like, bezel-less, bezel-less, bezel-less. I think it might be. Dude.
iPhone 10, iPhone 10, iPhone 10. 8 times, 8 times. Okay, here we go. Next call.
Hey, y'all, this is General McCullough here from the Great White North up in Canada. And this question is for Brian specifically, because somebody over here doesn't like iPhones. Anyways, Brian, I know you all about that Apple life. Why are you getting the iPhone 10? Is it because you like it, or is it because it's a 10th iPhone? Anyways, my top iPhones, 5 iPhones is iPhone 3GS, iPhone 4S, iPhone 6 Plus, iPhone 6s, and my favorite is just iPhone. Yes, that's right, the first iPhone, because that's what Apple really meant back in the day. Thanks. Peace.
Cool.
I got another iPhone classic, man, the number one. I swear, if people that bought that one, like, there's so much sentimental value around it because it was a game changer, man. It blew my mind. Blew my freaking mind.
The YouTube chat room is accusing you of having Cricket Cellular. I don't know.
Wait, they're saying that I got Cricket?
They're saying you got Cricket, man. They're calling you out.
I don't have Cricket at all, man. I don't have Cricket. Funny. They're starting with me. They're starting stuff with me right now. You better watch yourself, chat room. Watch us. Cricket, come on, man.
So what
was it? Cricket was offering one of those carriers was actually offering an iPhone 10 deal. I wonder if it was Cricket. I can't remember now.
Could be, yeah. But what was the guy's question again? Or he was just talking about, why did you want the iPhone 10? Why? That was his main question.
The funny thing is, like, yeah, I have a majority of Apple products, but I'm not all about that Apple life. I mean, I have Alexa stuff, I have Google stuff, I have Roku stuff. So yeah, but yeah, is my main primary ecosystem Apple? Absolutely. A, always going to be the ecosystem. B, I've had every iPhone other than the 4S because I thought the 4S was doo-doo. So that would probably lend itself to be like, yeah, he's going to get the iPhone 10. And I'm curious to see, as a reviewer, as someone who does this stuff, the Apple Byte, I probably should get the iPhone 10 so I can talk about it.
Please, yes.
Probably should. I mean, I don't know about you. I think that makes sense.
That would help with your credibility, I'm sure, yes.
So, yeah.
Cool.
And for the record, I buy all of my stuff. I do not get a single thing for free. That's why I feel free to speak my opinion and not look over my shoulder. I buy every single one of my devices. Apple has never given me a device ever to review. So, and no company has ever given me a device to review that I can then use until the next device. And I think that's important. I'm just sorry. When you put down your own cash for something, you're going to feel differently about it. And that's why I'm a little more passionate about it. And I'm willing to speak my mind more because I put money down on this stuff. I didn't get it as a review product.
And for the record, Brian gives away all the free stuff you get usually given away in a contest or something, which is cool.
I reach out to companies just to give me stuff so I can give fans goodies like there's Mophie giveaway in this week's show. Just all this stuff because it's fun. Like, you know, why can't we all like benefit from enjoying this stuff? It's badass.
You know, I would like an iPhone 10 too, but I don't have the money. So I think we all want an iPhone 10, you know?
You think I have money to buy that outright? It's going straight to the credit card that gives me miles to go to Hawaii. That's
there you go.
It's doing, man.
Wait, which credit card do you use to get miles for Hawaii? Because I need that.
Hawaiian Airlines.
Hawaiian Airlines card.
But I go there so often, it's specific, right?
Nice.
Otherwise, you know, I mean, I'm not trying to advertise, but my favorite card is the Chase Sapphire Preferred because all the miles, you can transfer all your points to miles to Southwest directly.
Ooh, that's pretty awesome.
I can talk to you about that later, man.
Let's do
Maybe
it, man.
they should sponsor our show. They should probably do that.
Hell yeah. Well, that's it, dude.
Okay.
That's all she wrote.
All right. That's all. Thanks, Beach. Everyone, again, if you want to be a part of the show, the number to call is 1-800-616-2638.
There it is.
There it is. Sometimes my brain, I mean, there's so much going on here. Call us. You know how to be a part of the show. We'd love to hear your iPhone 10 launch day / pre-order experiences. I think there could be some fun stories in there. So call us and let us know about that. Best of luck. I mean, today's the day. November the 3rd is the actual store day. They're putting them in sale if you want to wait in line there. So best of luck to y'all. It was great. We'll see you next week. Be safe. Have a great weekend. And Beach, I'll see you next time, buddy.
All right, man. Thank you very much.
I'll be in San Francisco next week.
Oh, okay, great. Are we going to do the show from here then?
Oh, yeah. Do it there.
Sweet. Awesome, man.
All right. Take care, everybody. Be safe. Peace.